Before these words go any further, pause for a moment, because what you are about to hear is not meant for the casual listener. It is for the one who has been tired in secret, faithful in silence, and still wondering why life has asked so much from a heart that only wanted to survive. Chosen one, sit still. Let your body slow down. Let the noise around you lose its authority for a moment. There are seasons when heaven cannot speak clearly to a rushing soul, not because God is far away, but because your pain has trained you to keep moving, even when your spirit is begging to rest. You have carried more than circumstances. You have carried questions. You have carried the ache of prayers that seem to disappear into empty rooms. You have carried mornings where no one applauded you for getting up, yet you rose anyway. And I need you to hear this with the deepest part of you. None of it was wasted. Not the tears you wiped before anyone saw them. Not the years that looked delayed. Not the doors that closed when you were certain they were supposed to open. Something larger than coincidence has brought you to this moment. What is moving toward your life is not small, not random, not ordinary. It is massive, and before it arrives fully, your spirit must understand why the waiting had to shape you first. There has been a quiet knowing rising inside you, slowly at first, then with a pressure you could not explain. Something in your spirit has been whispering that life is about to shift, even while your circumstances still look the same. That is why you have felt confused. Your eyes have been looking at evidence, but your soul has been feeling movement. Your logic has been asking, is this real, or am I just hoping again? And the answer is this. What you are sensing is not fantasy. It is the first signal of a season that has already begun moving toward you. You know how the air changes before rain comes, how a room becomes strangely still before someone important enters, how your body can feel a storm before the sky admits it. That is what has been happening around your life. Heaven has been shifting things before earth has revealed them. You may not see the door yet, but something behind the door is already turning. Even your prayers have changed. You no longer beg the way you used to. You no longer wrestle with heaven like you must force God to remember you. Something in you has become quieter, but do not mistake that quietness for defeat. It is not exhaustion, it is arrival. You stopped striving because your spirit knows that what is coming cannot be grabbed by fear. It can only be received by surrender. Some of you have been pulling away from people in this season, and you have not known how to explain it. It was not hatred, it was not pride. It was not because you suddenly stopped caring. Something inside you simply stopped feeling at home in rooms that once felt familiar. Conversations that used to entertain you now drain you. Crowds that once made you feel included now make your spirit feel crowded. And because you are a person with a soft heart, you questioned yourself. You wondered if you were becoming cold, distant, or difficult. But hear this clearly. You were not being disconnected. You were being set apart. There is a difference between loneliness and separation. Loneliness feels like rejection. Separation feels like instruction. Loneliness says, no one wants you. Separation says, you cannot carry everyone into the next chapter. What God is preparing for you requires a different atmosphere, a different circle, a different level of peace. The people attached to your old survival season may not have the capacity to honor your next assignment. That is why the pullback happened quietly. Heaven did not need to make a scene. It simply made certain rooms uncomfortable so you would stop settling there. The guilt you felt was not proof that you were wrong. It was proof that your heart still loved what your spirit had already outgrown. There is another sign many of you have been carrying, a strange mixture of peace and grief. You feel calm, yet something in you has been mourning. You are not grieving one clear event. You are grieving a version of life that is ending. You are grieving the old rhythm, the old identity, the old way you knew how to survive. Even when a chapter was painful, it can still feel familiar, and the human heart often clings to what is known before it trusts what is promised. Do not condemn that grief. God is not offended by your tenderness. Every ending has a sound, even the holy ones. Every transition requires a funeral for the version of you that learned how to live in limitation. But understand what this grief means. It does not mean your story is collapsing. It means the chapter that could no longer contain your calling is closing. You have also felt peace because your spirit already knows what your mind is still trying to accept. Something is being completed. Something is being sealed. The waiting room is losing its power over you. The old season is not being repaired. It is being released. God is not giving you a better version of the same cage. He is opening a door into a life built at another scale. Some of you have been marked by unusual dreams, quiet impressions, or sudden moments of knowing that stay with you long after the moment has passed. You wake up with something in your chest that feels too sacred to explain, but too real to ignore. You try to dismiss it as imagination, stress, or emotion because you do not want to sound dramatic. But deep inside, you know there are messages your spirit understands before your language can catch up. Do not despise what God speaks in hidden hours. The night is not always empty. Sometimes it is the classroom where heaven gives you fragments of what your waking life is not ready to hold. Those dreams, those impressions, those inner confirmations are not random comfort. They are preparation. They are small windows opening before the full door appears. And this is why the waiting has felt so strange. You have been in it so long that it almost became your address. You learned how to wait, how to survive, how to lower your expectations so disappointment would not destroy you. But what is about to change is not only what arrives, it is who you become when it arrives. The waiting was never just about building something for you. It was about building capacity inside you, so when the promise comes, it will not crush the person carrying it. What you have been experiencing is not a random collection of feelings. It is a pattern. The pulling away, the changed prayers, the sacred dreams, the grief without a clear name, the peace that makes no logical sense, all of it is pointing toward one truth. You are standing at the threshold of the most significant season you have ever entered, and God allowed you to sense it before it became visible so your heart would not mistake the sudden opening for coincidence. But there is something tender that must be addressed. You have felt this nearness before. You have believed change was coming before, and then you watched months pass, years pass, doors remain closed, promises stay hidden. So now, even when your spirit feels hope rising, another part of you says, "Be careful. Do not believe too much. Do not let this hurt you again." That protective voice was born from pain, but it is not the voice that gets to lead you now. The earlier signs were not false. You sensed movement, but you interpreted it through the shape of your own expectation. God was moving, just not in the form you demanded. This time, the knowing is different. It is quieter, deeper, less desperate. It does not feel like chasing. It feels like certainty. And that quiet certainty is the sound of a door already opening. There are arrangements being made for you in places you have not entered yet. You may not see the evidence, but you have felt the movement. There is a sense that your name is being mentioned in rooms where you are not present, that pieces are shifting, that certain delays are no longer delays but final alignments. This is why the outside of your life may still look ordinary, while inside you there is a pressure that feels almost holy. It is not anxiety, it is anticipation. God is not slow, He is thorough. What He is preparing cannot be rushed without damaging the very thing meant to bless you. A massive season requires a formed vessel, a heavy mantle requires strong shoulders. A large promise requires a person whose soul has been expanded enough to carry it without losing humility, wisdom, or peace. You wanted the blessing earlier, but earlier you may have confused abundance with identity, attention with validation, and open doors with personal worth. So God did not withhold it to punish you. He waited until you could receive it without becoming possessed by it. The blessing and the carrier had to be matched. And now, what was being formed in secret is almost ready to be revealed in public. You are not becoming worthy. You are becoming prepared. There was a woman named Mary ordinary by every visible measure, yet heaven had already written something over her life that no human eye could recognize. She had no platform, no public proof, no earthly reason to believe she had been chosen for something beyond her understanding. Then a message came, not as a negotiation, not as a plan she could control, but as an announcement. Favor had found her, and she was about to carry what had never been carried before. Her response was not filled with arguments about her qualifications. She did not demand to feel ready before she surrendered. She simply yielded, and in that yielding, the impossible began to form inside her. This is the sequence many people misunderstand. God does not always prepare you first and then call you. Sometimes He calls you, and the calling itself becomes the place where preparation begins. That is what has been happening in you. Every season where you surrendered instead of forcing, prayed instead of manipulating, endured instead of quitting, something was being built. You thought you were only surviving, but heaven was forming structure inside your spirit. Your obedience in hidden places was not wasted discipline, it was construction. And when something massive arrives, it will finally reveal what those quiet seasons were building all along. Now, I need to name what the difficult seasons were really forming in you, because your pain deserves interpretation, not just endurance. In the seasons of loneliness, God was building rootedness, so you would no longer need the approval of every room to know you belong. In the seasons of rejection, He was sharpening discernment, teaching you the difference between what is familiar and what is assigned. Not everyone who stayed close to you was aligned with you, and not every closed door was an attack. Some were protection. In the seasons of financial restriction, He was teaching you that provision is not limited to your own strength, your own connections, or your own calculation. He was breaking the fear that made you grip everything tightly. So when abundance comes, you will hold it with wisdom, not panic. In the seasons of delayed answers, He was forming patience that does not collapse when the timeline is hidden. Every limitation became a classroom, every closed door became a lesson, every silence became a furnace. You were not placed in the fire because you were worthless. Gold is not refined because it has no value. It is refined because its value is too great to remain mixed with what cannot go forward. The fire was not proof of God's displeasure, it was proof of His investment. And now, chosen one, there is one final thing you must release before the massive thing can land in your life. It is the quiet unworthiness that learned to hide behind humility. The part of you that says yes with your mouth, but whispers no in your heart. The part that explains away confirmation, minimizes every sign, and prepares disappointment before blessing even has a chance to arrive. That pattern did not come from nowhere. Somewhere in your life, needing felt unsafe, wanting felt dangerous. Taking up space felt like something you had to apologize for. So you learned to stay small, to serve others easily but struggle to receive, to believe blessings were real for everyone except you. But that smallness has finished its assignment. It protected you in survival, but it cannot lead you into promise. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to stand in the full size of what God prepared for you. You are allowed to believe that the word includes your name. You are not leaving this season as someone who barely made it. You are leaving it expanded, refined, rooted, and ready. What was taken is being restored. What looked like lost time was formation time. What felt like silence was protection. So open your hands, release the almost, the grief, the closed doors, the old identity. You are not leaving a message, you are leaving a season.